The Ohio night was colder than usual. John Miller sat in his dim apartment, staring at the medals on the wall. They once symbolized honor, but now they mocked him. His fridge was empty, bills piled high, and his daughter Emily coughed weakly from the bedroom. He walked to her side, tucking the blanket tighter. "I'm here, sweetheart," he whispered. She smiled faintly, but her pale face told the truth. She was getting weaker. John thought of the promises made when he returned from war: healthcare, dignity, support. Yet all he had now were rejection letters. The insurance company had denied Emily's treatment. He clenched his fists, staring at the medals again. "I fought for freedom abroad. Now I must fight for justice at home." That night, John made a silent vow. His war was not over. The battlefield had changed, but the enemy, corruption and betrayal, was just as ruthless. John's story began in a small Ohio town. His father worked in a steel factory. His mother raised 3 children with patience and love. From a young age, John dreamed of something bigger. At 16, he saw soldiers marching in a parade. Their uniforms gleamed, the crowd cheered, and John felt a fire inside. "That's what I want," he whispered. His mother worried. "The army is dangerous, John." But his father placed a hand on his shoulder. "If this is your path, walk it with honor." John trained hard, running at dawn, lifting makeshift weights, studying military history. Friends mocked him as soldier boy, but he didn't care. He had a vision. At 18, he signed up. His mother cried, "Promise me you'll come back." John hugged her. "I'll come back stronger." As the bus pulled away, he looked back at his family fading into the distance. That night, in the barracks, he whispered, "This is the beginning. This is my fight." The day John Miller received his uniform was the day his childhood ended. The crisp fabric, the polished boots, the weight of the badge, it all felt heavier than he had imagined. He stood in front of the mirror, shoulders squared, eyes sharp. For the first time, he looked less like a boy and more like a soldier. His mother watched from the doorway, tears streaming down her face. "John, you look so grown up, but you're still my little boy," she whispered. He smiled faintly, adjusting the collar. "Mom, this uniform means I'm ready. Ready to fight, ready to protect." The farewell was harder than he expected. At the bus station, the entire town seemed to gather. Neighbors shook his hand, some saluted him, others simply stared with pride. His sisters clung to him, refusing to let go. His father, though tired from years of factory work, stood tall and proud. He placed a rough hand on John's shoulder and said, "Walk this path with honor, son. Don't forget who you are." The bus engine roared to life. John hugged his mother tightly. She whispered through sobs, "Promise me you'll come back." He nodded firmly. "I'll come back stronger. I'll make you proud." As the bus pulled away, John looked out the window. His family grew smaller in the distance, but their faces stayed etched in his mind. He clenched his fists, whispering to himself, "This is the beginning. This is my fight." That night, in the barracks, John lay awake. The uniform felt heavy, not just on his shoulders, but on his soul. He thought of the stars he used to watch from his porch, the dreams he carried as a boy. Now those dreams had turned into duty. He was no longer just John Miller from Ohio. He was a soldier of the United States Army. And though fear lingered in his heart, determination burned brighter. The journey ahead would test him in ways he could not yet imagine. But he was ready. The desert sun was merciless. John Miller stepped off the transport plane into a rock, the heat hitting him like a wall. Dust swirled around the convoy of soldiers, rifles slung across their shoulders, eyes scanning the horizon. This was no parade, no cheering crowd. This was war. The first weeks were chaos. Explosions echoed in the distance. Gunfire rattled through the nights. John learned quickly that survival depended on instinct. He slept with his boots on, rifle by his side. Every shadow could hide danger. Every silence could precede an attack. One evening, while patrolling a narrow street, John's unit was ambushed. Bullets tore through the air, shattering windows, sending civilians running. John dove behind a crumbling wall, heart pounding. He returned fire, his hands steady despite the fear. Beside him, a fellow soldier shouted, "We're pinned down." John crawled forward, dragging his comrade to safety. The dust choked his lungs, but he refused to stop. In that moment, he realized war was not about glory. It was about survival, about protecting the man next to you. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. John saw friends fall, heard their last words, carried their bodies back to camp. Each loss carved a scar into his soul. At night, he wrote letters home, hiding the horrors from his family. "I'm fine, Mom. Don't worry. I'll be back soon." But inside, he wondered if he would ever see Ohio again. The war hardened him. His eyes grew sharper, his heart heavier. He learned to move silently, to trust his instincts, to fight even when hope seemed lost. Yet through it all, he held on to one thought: I must survive. I must return. I promised my mother. War was brutal, but in the middle of chaos, John Miller found something priceless: brotherhood. The men in his unit were more than soldiers. They were family. Each day they fought side by side, ate together, laughed at small jokes, and shared the same fear of not seeing tomorrow. One of them was David, a young soldier from Texas. He had a loud laugh and carried a photo of his fiancée everywhere. Another was Marcus, quiet and thoughtful, who wrote poetry in a small notebook even during patrols. Together, they formed a bond stronger than blood. John remembered one night when the unit sat around a dim lantern in the desert. The air was thick with dust, but for a moment, they felt human again. David cracked a joke, Marcus read a few lines from his notebook, and John told stories of Ohio, his sisters, his mother's cooking, the steel factory where his father worked. They laughed, forgetting the war outside. But the next morning, reality returned. An explosion rocked their convoy. David was thrown to the ground, bleeding. John dragged him to cover, shouting for a medic. Marcus fired back at the attackers, his face pale but determined. In that moment, John realized the true meaning of brotherhood. It was not about words, but about risking your life for the man beside you. Days later, David recovered, but scars remained. Marcus lost his notebook in another ambush, and John promised him, "When we get home, you'll write again." "I'll make sure of it." The war tested them every day, but their bond grew stronger. They shared rations, carried each other's burdens, and whispered promises of survival. John often thought, if I die, at least I'll die with brothers who stood by me. This brotherhood gave him strength. It reminded him that even in the darkest places, humanity could survive. And though many of them would never make it home, their memories would live forever in John's heart. War never let anyone walk away untouched. For John Miller, the cost of survival was measured in the faces of the men he lost. It was a scorching afternoon when his unit was ordered to secure a small village. The streets looked quiet, but John's instincts screamed danger. As they moved forward, a sudden explosion ripped through the convoy. The ground shook, dust filled the air, and screams echoed. John staggered to his feet, ears ringing. He saw Marcus, the quiet soldier who wrote poetry, lying on the ground, blood staining his uniform. John rushed to him, grabbing his hand. Marcus whispered, "Tell my family. I fought with honor." His voice faded, his eyes closed, and silence swallowed him. David, the soldier from Texas, tried to pull John away. "We have to move." But John couldn't let go. He felt the weight of Marcus's sacrifice pressing down on him. Finally, he forced himself to stand, carrying Marcus's memory with him. That night, the camp was silent. No jokes, no laughter, only grief. John sat alone, staring at the stars. He thought of Marcus's notebook, the poems that would never be finished. He whispered, "I'll carry your words, brother. I'll make sure you're remembered." The war demanded sacrifices, and John realized each loss was a piece of himself torn away. Yet he also understood these sacrifices gave meaning to their fight. Every fallen soldier became a reason to keep going, a reminder that survival was not just for himself, but for those who could no longer fight. From that day, John carried a heavier burden. He fought harder, moved faster, and protected his unit with relentless determination. He knew the enemy could take lives, but they could never take the bond of brotherhood. John Miller came back home from war expecting peace, but reality was cruel. At first, there were parades, applause, and neighbors calling him a hero. Yet within months, the cheers faded. He was left with unpaid bills, no stable job, and a sick daughter who needed urgent treatment. The hospital and insurance companies denied his claims again and again. Each letter carried the same cold words: claim denied. John worked nights as a security guard and mornings as a cleaner, but it was never enough. He sold his medals, his car, even his furniture, just to keep his daughter alive. One evening, holding another rejection letter, John whispered to himself, "I fought for freedom abroad, but now I must fight for justice at home." His war was not over. The battlefield had changed, but the enemy, corruption and greed, was just as ruthless. John began investigating. He dug into hospital records, insurance files, and uncovered shocking fraud, executives stealing millions while denying treatment to families like his. Threats came quickly, anonymous calls, strangers following him. But John refused to stop. Finally, he leaked the evidence to journalists. Headlines exploded. Veteran exposes insurance corruption. The nation reacted with outrage. Protests grew, courts opened cases, and the corrupt executives faced trial. John's daughter finally received the treatment she needed. Standing at the Veteran Memorial, John held her hand. His eyes filled with tears as he whispered, "I never wanted revenge. I only wanted the truth." But the truth itself became my silent revenge. His story spread across America, inspiring countless others to demand justice. John Miller's fight proved that courage does not end on the battlefield. It continues wherever injustice lives.